In the previous section, we learned the skills necessary to implement our own content management system, including rendering templates, handling HTTP requests, and connecting to a database. In this section, we'll learn all about using HTTP middleware to capture web analytics. In this section, we'll take a look at the basic techniques needed to write HTTP middleware, how to use the log package, error handling, including panic recovery, and some advanced middleware techniques. Let's move on to the first video in the section. In this video, we are going to take a look at some new techniques that will allow us to write HTTP middleware, those being variadic functions, function chaining, and callbacks. Start by creating a new directory in our Go projects directory named middleware and create a new file named analytics and open it. The first concept is that of variadic functions. I'll paste in some code and then explain how it works. So here in the function definition we can pass a ... int. This means we can pass in as many integer arguments as we want. You can then see here that we can iterate through these arguments in a for loop using the range statement. Let's run this code. As you can see, it just calculates the sum of all the arguments. The next concept is that of function chaining. We'll use function chaining to do the same thing as we did with the variadic arguments. Again, I'll paste in some code and then explain how it works. You can see here we have a struct with a single integer field. We also have a function named addNext, which will add the value we pass in to the value in our struct sum field. Since we return the same struct, we can call addNext again on the result. Let's have a look at this in action. We'll create a new chain and initialize the value to 0. We'll then call addNext a few times and then print the sum value of our struct. You can see we achieved the same thing as we did with the variadic function. To make this a bit more user-friendly, you can create a finally function, like so, to return sum. This just makes the code a little nicer to use. The last technique we'll look at is a callback. Now these are not callbacks like the ones in JavaScript. It's just a way to accept a function as an argument. Some people have ended up calling this idea a callback, so let's go with it. For this, we'll use a real-world example, HTTP middleware. This function takes a parameter named next that is an http.handler_func and returns an HTTP handler. A handler func is any function that accepts the arguments w of type HTTP response writer and r of pointer type HTTP request. The trick here is that the handle func is defined as a type. Check out the Go documentation and you'll see. It has a function named serveHTTP defined on it, which allows us to actually execute next handler func. I'm sure this sounds confusing, but look at how it's used. We simply call this function and pass in our HTTP handler. When we run it, we can see that this allows to run code before our handler executes and after it executes. This is the trick to writing HTTP middleware in Go. Great! As you can see, our println statements have executed in the order we expected. In this video, we'll learn the skills concepts necessary to write HTTP middleware. In the next video, we'll write a piece of middleware that captures performance analytics and writes them to a log file. Awesome!